Welcome to the Wild and Free with Anna Love podcast. I am your host, Anna Love. Wild and Free was born to inspire women to release old patterns that have kept them from living their best life. As a subconscious freedom specialist, I strive to reprogram and reframe generational trauma, not only in myself and the lives of my 3 daughters, but for those who are ready to transform anxiety, fear, and shame into authenticity, freedom, and love. Whether you are 20 years old or 70 years young, buckle up for raw and honest explorations in doing the work necessary so that you may shine your brightest light from your heart and onto the lives of others. Welcome to Wild and Free with Anna Love podcast. Today, I am so excited. I have a special guest, Lauren Venables, who I met at a Tony Robbins event, and we just loved each other's energy, and we've stayed in touch. So I thought she'd be a perfect person because I see Lauren living wild and free out there on social media, and I'm so inspired by your posts, and I just think you are living like just this vibrant life, and I had to have you on this podcast, so welcome here. I thought I would start out by just asking you to tell us about yourself and who it is that is your dream client, your unicorn client. Who is it that you serve and why you serve that person?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me on this podcast. I'm so excited to be here. I can already feel all of the energy. So who am I and who is that I serve? So I am all about feminine self-expression, and I'm here to serve and help the women who have suppressed their feminine expression, being their light and their dark, and actually reclaim that. Like, I get goosebumps as I say it, reclaim that in all aspects of themselves so that they can live wild and free and have these deep, intimate relationships with men. So I really work with women who have been, overgiving all of their life in their masculine energy, like constantly the strong one, because that's where I come from. That's what I resonate with. And the women who just feel so deeply suppressed and shamed of their own sexuality, their full feminine, unbridled expression. Wow. So I'm here to help them live wild and free.
Wow. So the first question I wanted to ask is for listeners who don't know, or they may know a little bit about the masculine versus feminine. For people who don't know what that even means, how would you give some either examples or just a definition of what that even is?
Yeah, absolutely. So masculine energy, so masculine and feminine energy lives inherently within all of us, both men and women. It's not just gender specific. However, each individual, each man and woman generally has a core essence, more feminine or more masculine. And so masculine traits are things like the structure, the doing, the logic, the concept, like the boxes, right? It's if you think of like a human body, the structure is the bones and the actual holding of what's internal. The feminine is the flow, the creativity, the being able to receive the softness, and not just softness, there's definitely the dark feminine and the sensuality and the sexuality as well. But that's the feminine traits are the container. Sorry, what is within the container essentially. So if you think of like all of the fluid and the organs and things like that. So it's the masculine is the structure of the holding. So you may look at that as like constantly doing all the things in business, or like running the family, like always having to be on constantly 24/7. And then the feminine is much more just allowing yourself to receive, to be in the emotions, to be seen in your emotions. And yeah, there's definitely like a softness to it.
Wow. So I feel like I knew a little bit of that, but then you sort of you framed it for me differently. So I feel like I just learned something there. I didn't realize that the masculine was the structure. So that's insightful. Yeah, there's so many layers to these new, topics that are here. So thank you for that. Where do you think this all stems from? Like you said that there's suppression of the feminine. What gives you, like where does it come from? How do you recognize it in a woman? And yeah, that's my question. Where does it come from?
Oh, so many, like all the goosebumps. For generations, women have been shamed for being the full expression of themselves. Like it goes back to women were only allowed to vote however many years ago, right? This movement of feminism came along because we were so suppressed for so many years, not able to be the full expression of ourselves, not able to vote, not able to, I think it was only like 50 years ago that women were able to take out a credit card without a partner's signature. I heard that recently. So all of these years of suppression, and women feel that if they are all of themselves, if they are fully expressed, they will be called names, they will be judged, they will be shunned, they will be removed from the tribe, they will be unlovable by a man. And it runs so deep from generations and generations and generations. And how you asked how I see that in a woman, it comes up in so many different ways. And what I generally see a lot is a woman who doesn't feel safe enough to share her emotions, to soften, to let go. Like she needs to be constantly on in her business all the time. She may work in a career that is full of men as well. So she struggles. So she needs to be on. She needs to have the strong mentality on. So she's actually noticed within the workplace, and that she actually has respect, right? What I noticed is these women living from their mind, constantly stressed and struggling in relationships with men, because often a lot of the time when we are relating with a man with the same energy that we bring to, say, business, for example, or with this constant like living in our head, or this structure, that this needing to push, that doesn't work well with the masculine, because that's his energy. That's what he is.
So it's like this.
Exactly. Yeah. So it clashes, right? So that's where, that's a whole other conversation about polarity,
Right.
but that's why
Right.
it's the masculine and feminine. Like it's like magnetic, because it's polar opposite. So yeah, like a woman who feels like she's constantly stressed and she's constantly doing everything for everyone else. And one of the biggest pieces, like she can't drop into her body. Like it just does not feel safe. Like it doesn't feel safe to move. I'm like constantly in goosebumps.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel okay to drop in, because what will happen if she lets go? So
Right.
she needs to have her guard up all the time.
Right. So she's not tapping into her true essence, and there's something about it where she's protecting who she is, right? She's feeling like she can't drop into the essence of her, and she's having to protect herself from fear of judgment or seeming weak, right? I didn't hear you say weak, but I felt the weakness could be something that she could be perceived as being, instead of being that strong, independent, I've got to do everything.
Absolutely.
And then that breaks down the communication, because as we know, when we're not being authentically us, we're not able to go deeper within that partnership.
Yeah. And in partnership, one of the most beautiful qualities of a feminine woman is for her to be able to drop into that vulnerability and that softness in communication, because it is received from a man so much more than coming at him with criticism or this stress or fear. And when she can actually drop into her feelings and say, hey, this is how I'm feeling, the masculine will receive it like so much differently.
Wow. So that's interesting, because through the years of even my molding of being in relationship, it's through the eyes of our perception. And usually it's from something that we've witnessed in our family and or in movies, or, it should look like this, but why does my relationship look like this? It doesn't look like that. And it definitely, right? Like, so it's this, everything is skewed, and it's like, what do we do about it? So how do you help? Like, what is it that you do? How do you bring women more into their feminine?
Yeah, so many ways. Because we're on the topic of relating with men and communication, firstly, I'd say look at your beliefs with men, around men, and our relationship blueprint and how we are currently relating with men is generally stems back to our father figures or our parental figures, right? Our blueprint for love is a reflection of our past. And so depending on your relationship with your father when you were growing up, how you received love, how you gave love, how like you saw love modeled to you in your parents, or whether they weren't around, or whatever the story is, this is likely to be impacting your current relationships. So that was a story for me of my dad he was an alcoholic. And so there was all of this chaos constantly in my life. And then when I got older, he actually died, and he had cancer and died. And so my relational blueprint was this constant, like I actually was attracting men who drank for a little while. And I also I needed to save them. I needed to constantly because I was still playing out the little girl who didn't feel safe and needed to try and save her father so that she wouldn't be alone. So that was something that was playing out for me. So the first thing I would say in terms of relationships with men is uncover what are your beliefs? What is your blueprint around men? And heal that and work through that. And I do a lot of somatics as well. So I do a lot of things within the mind. And what I mean by somatics is we can do a lot of mindset work, which is amazing. However, a lot of our trauma or a lot of our stories are held within our body. So when we can actually combine the two and release that, then you're a totally different person. And then from there, I would say...
You're speaking my language.
Yeah, I love that. And so from there, then learn how to communicate with men through your feelings and through your emotions, and learn how to relate with men in a way that does create the polarity that you're craving, because most women, I say most women desire for a man to lead them, to make the decisions, not all decisions, not always, but most women want to feel that protection, because that's a man's natural instinct, right? So for her to be able to drop into that level of communication, she will actually inspire that in her man, in men in general, in the coffee guy, in anyone. So yeah, that would be the biggest piece around men. Really look at your relationship with men, and once you can uncover that, everything will change. When we look at the feminine expression as a whole, because I know that you asked that question as well, one of the biggest pieces I see is the reason why women aren't embracing their feminine expression is because it doesn't feel safe. So looking at why doesn't it feel safe to soften, to let go, to drop into this vulnerability. It doesn't always necessarily need to be about wearing dresses and lipstick and dressing up and, doing girly things, which is really great. However, the biggest piece around life is safety. So uncovering where and how and why you don't feel safe in certain areas will be the catalyst for absolute transformation in all of your life.
Oh my gosh. In a nutshell, you just summed it up, basically.
Basically.
Right? Like the word blueprint. Yeah. The word blueprint. And I use the word blueprint in my life design blueprint membership, because I feel, and Tony taught me this, Tony Robbins taught me this very much so, you can change your blueprint or you can change your reality. And it's so much easier. Well, it's shadow work. It's changing that blueprint, right? So we can do what most people do, where we say, oh, I don't like my reality. Get rid of that guy. And then we find ourselves never in a fulfilling relationship because we just keep telling them you're not it, instead of changing the actual inside of us. And then, as you said, it's stored in our body. So it's a mind and body connection. And when we really get that, then we start to feel that power that we do have the power to change the real root of it. So I love that. And I am a believer that, and I've seen you doing work out there in your retreats, I believe that the shifts can really come in a quick way if you really get to the root of that. And the woman is ready to shift. And she said, enough of this old patterning, right? So it's really getting that awareness that they want that. So do you find that when you work with women, that a lot of the women that are coming to you are already there and they're saying, look, I'm done and I'm ready to receive, show me what to do? Or are they coming to you saying, I don't know what's going on, help me?
Interesting. I think it's a mix of the two. A lot of the time it is women who, are following me and see a lot of my posts and what I speak about, and they're like, okay, yeah, I'm done with this. Like I'm ready to, I know these beliefs, that they're really great at intellectualizing and they know it all in the mind. And they just need the support to help them to have someone see, as you would know with your clients, to have someone see what you can't see, to have someone actually pull out the blueprint for you. And that's probably a lot of the people who come to me, but there definitely are women who more so, I guess, see what I'm experiencing or how I'm facilitating online or whatnot, and they're just not sure. They just don't know. They want it, and they're really driven, and they want what they see, and something isn't working out for them. Something is challenging them, and then they're like, okay, I'm in. I want to do this, and then everything just catapults and changes.
They're curious. Yeah, they're curious. When I watch you and your posts, they're so well done, and you're so authentic that it's almost like not that we want to be you, but because I've watched you when I didn't have a boyfriend, and it's just so interesting because we're like, we want what she has. We want that, right? Because you're walking your talk, and I am a big believer that you are such a good coach when you are practicing what you preach, and I really see that coming through. And so are women. So they may not know what they want, but they want what you've got, right? They want this this aura of self-assuredness, and they want that freedom that they've been holding back from, right? That's how I feel when I watch you.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing.
So I would love for you to just maybe share, if you're open to it, something that you have discovered in your own experience that, you could share with the listeners and the viewers on where you were able to shift a pattern and how that has opened you up.
Oh, great question.
No pressure.
I need to think about this. I'm like, what's a great example? Okay. So let's talk about my relationship with men. Um, I was definitely Miss Independent, criticizing men, needed to be in control of absolutely everything, led the decisions, wanted a man to do more and step up and take the lead. Yet I didn't even realize I wasn't allowing him to, because I was so in control all the time. I was so, oh God, I was so stressed out. I focused on my career so much. I was creating the stress for myself, basically. Like I was just this constant ball of stress, right? And so, so then shifting that, I've done so much work around it. I wouldn't say it's one specific thing. It's sort of been my journey of uncovering where I was holding on to control. I had some really beautiful experiences with two men that showed up in my life who like created these transformational experiences that helped me release the anger that I was holding on to from my dad for not being there. And that was a big piece amongst uncovering, all my relationship with men and what was showing up for me. And the biggest piece there was then allowing myself to be held and seen in my emotions by the masculine, by men in my life, and asking, like, when I shifted from I can do everything on my own to, oh my God, I actually have to ask for help. I remember this one night, one of these two men said to me, oh, well, who is a man that you would feel comfortable with? Like, because I didn't want to be alone that night after a big process that we'd done. And he said, well, who is it that you would feel comfortable with? And I had to ask, this man to just like comfort me. And I was like almost vomiting, like I was crying. I could not ask because it was like, no, I'm not worthy to receive this. I'm not worthy to ask for help. I can't do this. Like I can do this all on my own. And to actually like have to outsource that to someone else. And, what if he said no? What if it was ridiculous? What if, and he said like, it was met with so much love and appreciation. And it was just the most incredible experience of my life. And, he just held me for the night and I cried and it was so beautiful to have, because I had been single for a while and hadn't had that masculine support. So, yeah, like that was a huge turning point for me to then actually lean in more and ask for help. Like it sounds so simple, just asking for help, but I recognize how deep it runs for women that have the Miss Independent archetype or have the Miss Independent identity and needing to do everything on their own. So from that point, I'd say like my relationship with men has completely transformed and I have men showing up for me, like just literally out of the blue, wanting to provide and devote to me. And yeah, that it's been really big.
That is huge because you had to get past that fear. And I used to feel the same way. And I know exactly, like it actually started to feel that way. I was reliving it when you were speaking it, like just that hit of like, can I do this? Will he hold me? And what is it going to be like? Because we've let that piece go when we were young, right? So it's so vulnerable. And then once you did it, I would have to say that it shifted everything for you then, because your vibration changed and the portal opened. And then now you invite in because I really feel like the universe drops and dangles the very things that we need to evolve, that dangles them in front of us. And it says, are you ready to do it now? Are you ready to do it now? Right. And then when we take on that challenge and we do it, it's like jumping off that diving board into the high dive. When we do it and then we live to tell then all of a sudden these doors start opening for us, right?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Ha,
it totally
wow.
resonate with all of everything that you just said. And that's exactly what's happened. Like it catapulted me. I mean, I'm very much a person who, if you tell me to jump off a cliff, like I will run. Like I lean into that fear constantly. And it's just catapulted me into so many other different experiences. And then, the next piece for me was my, like, around my pleasure and my sexuality and what that's now evolved, how that's escalated my relationship with men as well. Like it's all intertwined and it's just magical. It's big and it's magical. Like the doors that opened for me, as you said, it just allowed me to dive even deeper into the woman and what I actually want. And that's the biggest piece for women, is not being able to ask for what they want, actually not even being clear on what they want, and then being able to ask for that and the desires, because that was the biggest piece there in that experience for me. And so, yeah, allowing that, because it was so suppressed for me, my sexuality, allowing that experience to elevate and get me to actually work on my own sexuality and my eros, and yeah, magic. Yummy.
Wow. Woo! Wow. So, well, I think those were the questions that I had. This has been an amazing conversation. Was there anything that you wanted to add?
No, I think that just like the biggest piece that I would love to share is when you actually tune into what your body wants and what your body needs and go from there, let your body lead as opposed to the mind. Let the vulnerability of your emotions shine through, then your life and relationships with men and your life is just going to completely transform.
And then you're wild and free, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Like that's the core of it all, because you feel safe to express all of you and you get to become wild and free, because it's within every woman. It just comes back to that shame, like the fear of being judged, of being misunderstood, of being called certain names. And when we can actually step into this work, and I know the work that you're doing as well, when we can actually uncover the patterns and beliefs that's actually stopping us and holding us back from what we really want, like that's when the real work starts. That's when the juice starts to happen and you just feel fucking amazing.
Yeah. Yes. And I love when, I especially love when women can support other women, right? Because there's nothing, because through the years we've had those wounds too, whether it was a mother wound or, we've just been a certain way to other women. So it feels good to see women like yourself out there just being wild and free and supporting other women too, so that they can be wild and free too. So I love this. Thank you so much for coming on. And yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me, Anna. It's been so much fun. I love your energy. I love our connection. This is so great. Thank you.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Join me for a free transformative masterclass where I'll guide you to design your dream life. You will learn about your unique blueprint and how to shift your reality. Ready to take the next step in designing a life you love? The Life Design Blueprint membership is your all-access pass to exclusive tools, live guidance, and transformational support to help you move from self-doubt to self-worth. Building on the principles from the Design a Life That Lights You Up ebook, this membership is a deeper dive into creating a life that aligns with who you truly are. You will go beyond surface level self-help with hypnotic techniques and live discussions that create real lasting change in your mindset and life. You will receive ongoing support from me and connect with a community of like-minded women on a similar journey. Each week, I deliver an empowering hypnosis which offers a unique way of working with your subconscious to reframe limiting beliefs, elevate self-worth, and reinforce positive habits. All of our sessions will be recorded and added to our on-demand library for easy access to members. Join me by clicking the link below, and I'll see you on the inside. Well, thank you so much for tuning into Wild and Free with Anna Love and being a part of this magical journey with me. If you like this episode, make sure to subscribe and share with someone you love, even someone you just like. Bonus points if you leave a review. Show notes below gives you everything that you'll need to know, and I'll see you next time. So long for now.